This is California Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. I'm in Sacramento with Curt Hagman. He is a member of the California State Assembly, a candidate for the Board of Supervisors in San Bernardino County. So I want to speak with you about an annual survey that comes out every year by CNBC, and it looks at overall competitiveness of states, business friendliness. The state of California in 2013 came in 47th, and the state of Texas came in 2nd. Wow. What's going on, sir?
Well, it's been a pattern for the last 2 decades of more and more regulations out of California. We have, higher worker comp rates. We have higher energy costs, and frankly, the second or the first highest taxation of any state out there. Put all that stuff together, someone has to compete.
And on the heels of this, we see this headline from the Los Angeles Times, not far from your community. Toyota is taking 3,000 jobs and moving them to, guess where?
Texas.
Texas. A real blow, not just for the 3,000, but Toyota. I mean, that has been kind of a marquee business in the South Bay for generations, it seems like. I mean, Torrance, that's it. The two T's. How could Toyota leave Torrance?
Well, and for us, we've been seeing this company after company after company moving out of California. And what's worse less, the things we don't count is how many jobs are not created here that are created other places, because when you have the chance to expand, your business doing well, you're not expanding in California. And we change the rules on the business all the time. And that's the climate that we've been trying to preach on the floor over and over and over the last few years is, look, you have to be competitive, otherwise people are going to leave. If people leave, you don't have the tax base to do all the wonderful things you want to do.
Here's the challenge, though. Our friends in Texas, they are what we know as an underregulated state. But there are some detriments to being an underregulated state. I mean, they have some serious issues that relates to high teen pregnancies. They have issues with clean water that we don't have. I mean, you can kind of go down the list and see there are pluses and minuses to a low regulation state.
Well, on the business climate, yes, they're not spending as much on the central government as we do. But what my contention is, you can't do everything at once. Pick one that you want to do. Pick cleaner, greener energy and stick with it. Pick higher social standards and higher wages. Pick higher taxes. But if you do all of them together, that's a multiplying effect it has in all the industry. I mean, think about all the manufacturing jobs that used to be here, all the aerospace and engineering that companies used to be here that 2 decades ago left because you couldn't afford the labor, you couldn't afford the lawsuits. I mean, everything, the worst thing that you count in business, you think of California, for frivolous lawsuits, higher energy costs. I mean, AB 32 was originally brokered with multiple Western United States and provinces from Canada. Every other state's dropped that now besides us, and we're going to see a 15%, 15 cent per gallon increase in gas that's coming up.
And yet, when the voters of California were asked in the middle of a recession, do you want to repeal AB 32, 61% said no. So Californians in a lot of ways seem to be speaking out of two sides of their mouth. They're upset about, quote, overregulation.
And I wish there's truth in advertising. I remember that campaign clearly. It was like big oil's trying to buy out of energy production here in California. Well, no oil is used to produce energy in California. We use natural gas, hydro, and other things. But the ads are misleading. So I think when you have that sticker shock, when you finally start paying it, usually our residents react after something hits them, not when they're hearing on the fringe on the outside.
So is this announcement, will it be a catalyst for change in Sacramento?
I wish it was, but we had so many other ones prior to this, just as big or bigger, that we haven't changed. I will say this year, we're talking about more than we have in the past. When that leads to changes, I don't know.
Okay, his name is Curt Hagman. He is a member of the California State Assembly running for the Board of Supervisors. For our viewers on HLN, we thank you for joining us. For our other viewers, we'll be right back. Sir, I want to continue our conversation to talk about criminal justice. Before you were in the Assembly, you worked in criminal justice. You've been working on criminal justice issues in the Assembly. And if you should be elected to the Board of Supervisors in San Bernardino County, you will be dealing with county facilities, county jails, which are growing in population because of a program known as realignment, where lower level offenders serve their time in county facilities. You've been writing op-eds about it. Talk to us about realignment, your views on it.
Yeah, well, first of all, what the counties do is accept the state's problem. And if it's one for one, we probably deal with it better in the county than the state could. But the way the county jails used to be prior to realignment is the average inmate would spend 3 months in jail. So now the average for 109 or realignment prisoners 5 years. So if you figure that out by math, it's like 20 different inmates you're replacing with one state prisoner.
And I really want to get into the weeds on this because the intent behind realignment was that folks that receive sentences under 3 years would serve their time in county facilities, over 3 years in state facilities, because that's what the triple nons would necessitate. But like you said, what we're seeing is because of enhancements and other elements, folks are getting longer sentences beyond 3 years and serving their time in counties, which aren't really made
They're
for
not meant for
long-term
that.
sentences.
Medical facilities, all the rest. The longest so far record that I know of is 42 years
I've
in
heard
LA
that.
County.
I've heard
There's two inmates there. So just the sheer numbers games don't work. So it's at the disadvantage of the county. I think government's primary job is to protect its citizens.
Now, what's interesting, if I may, is that the governor was under tremendous pressure from a federal court to contract the size of the state prison system. Somehow, some way, he was able to convince this court to grant an extension to decrease the size of the prison population for about 2 years. So there's some breathing room here. So I'm wondering if now is the time that the legislature, in conjunction with the counties, for example, can work to create that kind of one-on-one swap. That if, for example, someone receives a 10-year sentence, even though they're a triple non, they'll serve their time in the state facility, and maybe the county will take someone who's at the end of their sentence that was at the state.
And I think we need to work on other options. Obviously, there's not enough beds at the county and the state added together for everybody that's been sentenced to. So we need sentence reform. We need alternative sentencing using technology like GPS, house arrest, other programs. That's some of the bills I've been putting up there is how do you take the least risk to the public and monitor them in such a way that they do what they need to do, stay out of trouble. And then reduce those beds for those that we really need to keep away from the public as long as we can.
Although what's interesting is, as I'm sure you know, in San Bernardino County, there are some new county jails coming online. Is it Adelanto is coming online? Or
well, they were trying to get Adelanto. They were in first place for a grant to expand more jail beds.
Right.
These are small numbers compared to what the demand is, a few hundred beds, but they don't have the operational funds. They didn't get the grant because of some technical things, so now this year they may get it. But yeah, San Bernardino County is one of the highest problem counties we have. The site release rate, if you get arrested on less than $700,000 bail or so, you're getting released immediately. So that's the person who just did the crime, finally got caught, is going to be out within 24 hours.
So what should be done? I mean, I understand your frustration, but candidly, I understand the governor's predicament. The federal court is very clear.
Sure.
The prison population must decrease.
We have to look at the statewide thing as sentence reform. We have to look at alternative sentencing. Like I said, if you're sentenced to 2 years, maybe that 2 years is 6 months in county jail, 18 months at house arrest with technology to make sure you're home by 5. But maybe that person's better off going through a program. Maybe he's better off working on a different state program to make something for his family. There's a lot of things we look at, but it's going to be individually look at. Most other states have a reentry judge that looks at these inmates that after a certain period of time will look at them. You're reformed, we'll put you back out earlier in the sentence, but still with certain monitoring.
You mentioned sentencing reform, and for a Republican to mention sentencing reform says a lot. Democrats can talk about sentence reforms. Republicans, no. It's like Nixon going to China.
Yeah.
But you're not the only Republican that's talking about sentencing reform. So if there's ever a moment in time, isn't now the time to do it since both sides are coming together?
So. I hope that the governor takes a leadership role, brings our pragmatic ideas we have on the Republican side, the need from the Democrat side, and what you're seeing is bills that go the extremes either way right now. Mine have got a little bit of legs, but not far enough to get through the Senate in the last couple of years. But I hope they're pragmatic solutions to their problem because I have, like you said, a unique vision of this.
Right.
I've been in the system and working in the system for a while now, so I have the ins and outs of both the Sheriff's Department and the court systems.
So what do you anticipate will happen a year from now? Will we see some fix to AB 109? Is the environment right?
I think if we don't, eventually you'll have enough crime that people will put something on the ballot that will do the 3 strikes again.
Wow.
That will be extreme the other way. So I hope that we fix a problem before it gets worse.
Okay, his name is Curt Hagman. He's a member of the California State Assembly. He is running for the Board of Supervisors in San Bernardino County. The election will be held on June 3rd. I'm Brad Pomerance, and this is California Edition.